This is a 2010 Honda Elite 110. It's a very rare bike, and they only made it in the United States, or at least they only brought it in the United States for 1 year, 2010. Up front here, you have 2 pistons and a single rotor. The wheels on this are 12 inches, so there's plenty of tires for this. And the one mod that the previous owner did was he got very wide tires for it. Or as wide as possibly he can put on here. My last Elite 110 had very thin tires, and what that does is that it creates a lot more bounciness on the road. These larger tires are so much better. I do like the way this bike looks. In a way, it's very streamlined, but it does echo the styling of the 80s. So there's many Honda Elites in the marketplace from the 80s, and some of them are pretty cool with like flip-up headlights and everything. This one, it's very much modern. It is fuel injected, and that's one of the beauties of this. But it's got many more things that I really like. For example, the very flat floorboard. It's very wide, and it's not as narrow as the SH150. So you can kind of position your feet around very easily. Another thing I really like is having the gas right down here. You have to use the key to get to it, but it's a very easy way of filling it up. I prefer the gas tank to be at the bottom instead on the top and then trickling down. This bike, of course, is fuel injected. It does get, I believe, 108 miles to the gallon. Your passenger has room to put her feet here, and you also have a foldable foot peg for her, so she can kind of put her foot like this. But this is pretty comfortable. It's a very well designed sort of thing. It's even got this like grip to it. Your foot won't slip in this sort of texture, which is pretty nice. The seat on the Elite is surprisingly comfortable. It is very, very wide. So if you're a bigger rider, you actually fit into this very well. And it's a good stitch. I think this is like the same sort of stuff that I stitched my Honda Ascot, but very thick padding, and it's just very, very comfortable. Even for the passenger, it's relatively comfortable. The tail end, you do have a decent rack. It's very easy to mount some sort of box on here, but your passenger does have a very thick seat as well, and very good grab rails. That would be nice if they stuck out a little bit more, so the passenger could grab it a lot easier, but this is a pretty decent rack. So on the front here, you have a screw. You pop this out, and the battery is behind here. The reason I like the battery being here is that if you were to ever want to make this bike lighter, which it doesn't really need to, you can just remove this and just pop this out and replace it with a lithium-ion battery. On the sides here, it's got an interesting feature that it's unused in the American version of the scooter. This is where your integrated taillights would fit, and I'm sure you can replace these or order these signals from Europe and then just replace it. I haven't checked to see if there's any wiring behind here, but there's plenty of space. But generally, I believe that this is a European spec sort of thing. The turn signals on this bike, of course, are much higher up. The horn is directly behind this bit of plastic. It's a round thing right over here. Your turn signals also are here. With the addition, with the bottom signals in the European spec, you could just integrate both of these together. So those are the blinkers. The good thing about these stock sort of mirror or signals is that if you ever crash, they break off. You can very much just get any signal and just hook it up onto the bike. Yeah, the headlight uses an H4 bulb. You could easily replace it with an LED if you wanted more light. But often, I don't really find that these bikes require a lot of headlight stuff. It doesn't make a lot of power at idle, but as soon as you rev it, it's decent. You'll never have great lighting out of these, but it is decent for just commuting. There is a little bit of a asymmetrical thing with this. You see that hole right there? That is to check on your brake fluid and you can see it directly from here. So mine is actually a little bit low, and I am glad I checked. On this right side, of course, you have your brake, you have your kill switch, and then you have your starter. The weird thing about these SH150s and Elite 110s is that there's something wrong with the kill switch. So often, this one doesn't seem to be that bad, but I've had another Elite and I have an SH150. A friend of mine's got an SH150, so it's a known thing that's happened. Something is wrong with the kill switch. I think it's the contacts. Maybe they get rusty. So if you just touch it like this, sometimes it turns off. So the best thing is not to use it at all. On this left side, this is another problem that I've had on my other Elite, is that this actually kind of comes out. I have no idea why. This has happened also on the Elite 110. Maybe they're not using the right amount of glue, but this will actually pop out if it gets hot. But this is your rear brake. You have high beam indicator, then you have your turn signals, traditional, right, left, cancel. Then you have your horn. Everything is symmetrical as far as like buttons. And right about here is something that you might not even see. There's this little tab. And what that is your front or your handbrake. So you can tell now the brake is a little bit further back. If you want to release it, you push it in, that goes down. So to put it on, you just push in the brake lever quite a bit. And now it's braked. So it's not going to be going down a hill if you leave it like that. So the speedo is what you would expect. It's very simple. It's very well designed with this symmetrical style with a round speedometer and odometer. You have your temperature gauge, you have your fuel, and your turn signals on both sides. Very easy. The downside of this speedometer is that there's no trip button, so you can't like start and just kind of calculate your miles based on the rides. I don't know why they didn't include that. It seems like a very simple thing. The SH150 does have that, and it does matter. Like, I do like using it quite a bit. This is your ignition, and the way it works is that if you want to pop the seat, turn the seat to the key to the seat position, push in, and the seat pops up. That's the off position. Another interesting feature is that the back of the key has got the security feature that puts a plate on here so thieves can't get into the ignition. It also has a nice little lockable compartment here. So let's open it up with a key. Take it out. So with this front lockable compartment, I'm just going to put the key back, you have a little bit more access to some easy storage. So in the front here, you have a decent pocket. You know, you can't really put a lot of stuff here, but this, my last one also had this. This is just a charger, so you can charge your phone. You do have like your toolkit. You can put your registration papers here. There's this rubber thing here that you can use to put a cup. So if you like to drink Cokes or whatever, you can put your Coke in there. It should fit a Coke can, but not a bottle. But it's nice that it's lockable. So one of the things I really like about the Honda Elite is this. As opposed to the SH150, you have this massive trunk. This is probably the biggest trunk I've seen on a bike. It is so deep, you can actually fit a full-size helmet in this part, in the left side or towards the front of the bike, because there's a hump here. Because of that hump, you can fit a helmet very easily here, and you have additional storage for putting an entire book bag, which is kind of fascinating. Normally, scooters do not have this amount of space, and it is so good that Honda gave us this, because this is one of the benefits of scooters, is the under-seat storage. Right over here you have your coolant bottle. You want to check the coolant status. It's just one Phillips screw, remove it, and then you can check it. These knobs, apparently, these are for your helmet. So if you want to put your helmet here, you can put the strap, close it, and then it's locked. So if you ever get a kickstand, this has already been cut out for the kickstand. My SH150 does not have that, but a kickstand is actually kind of handy for scooters. So you don't have to constantly be putting it up on the center stand, even though it's very easy to put it on the center stand. Very easy bike to maintain. Of course, this is the rear drive system that it has. It's just a very simple. If you've done work on any of these bikes, you know that this is very much the same thing that happens for every scooter. You have your air filter, and this is your drive system. You do have to change the fluid once in a while here and the belts, but I never had to do that on any scooter yet. The exhaust is tiny. Look at that little tiny hole. But that's what you want. You don't want to be loud on a scooter. I don't know the people that are constantly doing that. The one thing to note about the back, and in general, the scooter is very low to the ground. The blinkers are just a few, maybe like 1.5 feet from the ground. And it's the same thing with taillight. When you look at every other bike, everything is higher up. The SH150, the brake lights are higher up. I actually feel that this is a little bit less safe for riding because people are used to having the taillight and almost like eye level, and on motorcycles it's actually a little bit higher, but everything about this bike is very low. Like if you look at the tag where you would put the tag, it is really low to the ground. And of course this bike is on the center stand, so it's higher up. This bike is very short, and if you're a short rider, this is a good bike for you. And it's very roomy. The one thing I don't like is that it's very low to the ground. Now this could be because I prefer taller bikes, ADV bikes and everything, but it's a very easy bike to ride. It's got a 110 motor. What that means is that even though it's a 110, it does go 55 miles an hour, which is perfect for commuting. But if there's any big hills in your neck of the woods, it's going to be slowing down just a little bit going uphill. Not much. And of course we're having this gas crisis right now. This thing on about $3 will take you on a whole week of riding, and it is fuel injected. But the downside of this bike is that, like the SH150, it's a very rare bike. And when you have bikes that are rare, what that means is that parts for it are very expensive. As you guys know, or you might not know, is that my SH150 was stolen and I recovered it the same day, and they did quite a bit of damage. Pricing plastic for that bike is very expensive. And you would have to like ship it from Italy because they just simply don't have enough of these bikes in the United States. So in a way, this is more of a collector's bike as opposed to an everyday bike. You could use it as an everyday bike, but because it's so rare, these actually might go up in value in the future. This is my second Elite 110, and I really like these mainly because of the commuting potential it has. You know, it's very slim, it's quick enough. It's fun because it's got the 12-inch tire as opposed to the 16-inch on the SH150. But this bike, it's got a few problems. So the kill switch, that's a common thing on all of these bikes from 2010. And I think it's because they were made in Italy. But this is much more usable for a commuter in the city. If you want a bike that can travel a little bit more and is a little bit safer, potentially the SH150 is better, or a Kymco People 150 or 200. That's a better kind of bike, I believe. But I like this one just because of that huge trunk space that it has. And it also has that cute factor, and I don't feel that the SH150's got a cute factor, and you can get away with a lot more stuff in this than you can on the SH150. So let's go ahead and start it up. You do have to hold the brake to start it, but most scooters are like that. It's very quiet, and it starts right up with the fuel injection. I also like that the fuel tank is at the bottom here as opposed to under the seat, because often you'll spill gas, especially on these little small scooters, so it really helps. So a 12-inch wheel is actually a lot more fun than the bigger wheels. There's this sort of handling that scooters have, and when you have a very small wheel, it feels so quick and agile that often motorcycle riders are just not used to it. But there's many Honda Elites from the 80s, and they are pretty fun. I would love to compare this to one of those. Of course, I wish that this was a little bit more common because I do like to ride my bikes, but it's a very fun scooter, and I think a lot of people like these, and people do realize how rare they are. So if you do have one of these, please keep it safe. I wish it was just a little bit higher up, but I do know that the Elites were more for like short people. And get this bike and the last Elite 150, the glue that holds the grips tends to slide off, so you have to kind of like hit it like that. Sometimes I've gone into establishments when it's hot, came back outside, and like my grip is like falling off. Look at that, he goes around the corners like a boss. I complain about things I like, you know, and that's hard to do. I have a real talent. I don't understand why people like consider that to be a disadvantage in the world, being a complainer. Sure, I'm a downer, but really, do you want to be surrounded by positive people all the time? I don't. That is the Honda Elite from 2010. I hope you enjoyed this review. And if you have any questions, post up in the comments below and I'll try and answer. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.